Mr. Herford, are you with us?
I am.
Okay, I believe we are all here. We're waiting a couple of minutes to make sure that the interpreter is here. If you will give us a second, we'll get started very shortly.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Bye, Merry Christmas. Thanks. What'd you say?
Madam Chair, this is Roxana Gamusio, the Director for the Cosmetology Board. I'm going to go ahead and turn the meeting over to you, so you will start, and I can do roll call whenever you're ready.
Thank you. It's 2:01 on December the 18th, 2013, and this is Linda Colley, Chairman of the Board of Cosmetology of the State of Tennessee's Department of Commerce and Insurance. At this time, I will call to order this special meeting of the State Board of Cosmetology on this Wednesday, December the 18th, 2013. Also, at this time, I'd like to establish a quorum and do a roll call. When the Executive Director calls your name, please state your city and indicate whether anyone else is with you on the telephone.
First on the list is Madam Chair, Linda Colley.
Columbia, Tennessee, there is no one else with me on this telephone call.
Thank you. Ina Coppinger, Vice Chair.
Chattanooga, Tennessee, present, and no one else is with me on this call.
Ms. June Huckabee.
June Huckabee, Warren County, and no one else is on this call.
Ms. Muriel Smith.
Merle Smith, Savannah, Hardin County. No one else is on here.
Mr. Rufus Herford.
I'm in my office. It's locked. I'm in Fayetteville, Tennessee, and I'm present.
Ms. Pearl Walker Alley.
Pearl Walker Ali, present. No one is present on this call. Memphis, Tennessee.
Ms. Judy McAllister.
Judy McAllister, Decatur, Tennessee. I'm in my office. The office is locked, and there's no one else on this call.
Ms. Courtney Williams.
Nashville, Tennessee, and there is no one else on this call with me.
Madam Chair, it's all yours.
We have 8 members, which establish the quorum. For the record, we need to determine if there are any other members participating in this phone call. If you please will state your name.
I will state that at the present time, I am present, and this is the Executive Director for the Board, Roxana Gamusio. With me is Board Attorney Robert Herndon and Attorney Shalina Brown.
Is the respondent present?
Yes, this is Dan Alexander. I'm a Nashville attorney, and with me is Twan Nguyen, and I have other individuals who I would ask the board to hear from. I assume will be named as they appear. There's 1 or 2 others.
Okay. At this time, the Board of Cosmetology will need to establish the necessity to call a special meeting. Pursuant TCA 844-108, which states special called meeting must be met conditions of necessity, which means that there are matters needing timely action to be considered by this governing body. In this case, present or not practiced in the time period requiring action. Therefore, participation by a quorum of the members will be allowed by electronic means of communication. All voting will be conducted by a roll call vote. So, the special called meeting is to...
Ms. Colley, can
Yes.
I interrupt you for a quick second?
Certainly.
Are you right on your phone? You're cutting in and out a little bit.
Is this better?
That's better, yes.
I can't hear you, though, when I'm like that.
You can't?
No.
Okay. Let me get you to finish, I stopped you right after the roll call. Let me get you to finish reading why it is that we're having that. Can you hear me right now, though?
Can you hear me now? Because I can hear you well.
Yes, I can hear you. Well, let's give that a try.
Where do you want me to start back?
Right after you're going to conduct a roll call. The purpose of this.
Okay. At this time, we need to. Is that where you want me to start?
No, the sole purpose for this special meeting?
Oh, okay. The sole purpose of this special meeting, called meeting, is to, in accordance with PCA 4-5 requires the board to provide licensee an informal hearing following a summary suspension to allow the licensee to present their version to the suspension of respondent license, which took place at the board on December the 2nd, 2013. After considering the evidence presented for especially the arrest and detention of the respondent's license by Pleasant View Police Department battery on November the 2013, a complaint board and the additional witness statement by two other individuals alleging appropriate sexual conduct. The board found emergency action was the alleged seriousness of alleged in the complaint.
Miss Colley, you're chopping on us for just a minute. Let me interrupt you and see if we've got a better solution to read. You're on the house phone, right, Miss Colley?
Yes, ma'am, I'm on the house phone. Can you hear me now?
I can. Right now, you're not chopping at all, but a minute ago
I'll stay like this. It's just I have a hard time hearing you, but I'll continue. Tell me where I left off.
If you can go back to, just to make sure that we don't chop any part of it, to the hearing a following summary suspension to allow the licensee to be present. You're right at the beginning, like the third sentence of explaining why we're doing this.
Okay, tell me again where you want me to start.
This is an informal hearing following a summary suspension to allow the licensee to present their version of the events leading to the suspension.
Okay, let's see. Is it after the last board meeting?
No, way at the top. You chopped earlier. Why don't you just start with the purpose of this meeting again?
Okay, let's just do that. The sole purpose of this special called meeting is to be in accordance of TCA 4-5-320, which requires the board to provide the licensee an informal hearing following a summary suspension to allow the licensee to present their version of events leading to the suspension of respondent's license, which took place at the board's last meeting on December the 2nd, 2013, after considering the evidence presented on the legal report, especially the arrest and detention of respondent licensee by the Pleasant View Police Department for sexual battery on November 21st, 2013. A complaint filed with the board and the two additional witness statements by two other individuals allege inappropriate sexual contact. The board found emergency action was needed based on the nature of the alleged violation, the seriousness of the allegation in the complaint, and multiple alleged violations that occurred during the course of receiving cosmetology service from the respondent. The board found that the public's health, safety, and welfare imperatively required the board to take action against the licensee. This action was necessary to prevent the cosmetologist from continuing to engage in inappropriate sexual contact on other members of the public, who he provides cosmetology services. Now, at this particular time, we need a motion that is necessary for the board to meet to offer the due process to the respondent's correspondent, the cosmetologist. Do I have a motion?
Nina Coppin. motion that the board meet and this purpose.
Do I hear a second?
McAllister,
Madam
Walker,
Chairman, I
Ali,
move this here,
second.
but I second also.
Okay, I have a motion by Nina Coppinger that we continue with this meeting, this process, and seconded by Mr. Herford. Is there any discussion? If not, we'll have roll call by Ms. Roxana.
Thank you. Madam Chair, Ms. Linda Colley? How do
Yes.
you? Okay. Vice Chair Nina Coppinger, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. June Huckabee?
Yes.
Ms. Muriel Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Herford, Rufus Herford?
Yes.
Ms. Pearl Walker Ali?
Yes.
Ms. Judy McAllister?
yes.
And Ms. Courtney Williams?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And at this time, I will turn this over to Shalina Brown, attorney for regulatory boards, to address the panel.
Thank you. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the board. My name is Shalina Brown, and I'm an attorney with the Department of Commerce and Insurance, and I'm here representing the Board of Cosmetology in this matter. Today's special meeting has been called solely for the purpose of having an informal hearing on the summary suspension of a Board of Cosmetology licensee to address an important matter regarding the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of the state of Tennessee. As you know, Tennessee Code Annotated Section 4-5320C permits this board to summarily suspend a licensee if it determines that the public health, safety, or welfare imperatively requires emergency action. If the board determines that summary suspension is in order, it must provide the licensee with an opportunity for an informal hearing within 7 business days of the order for summary suspension. The informal hearing is to provide an informal, reasonable opportunity for the licensee to present its version of the situation. Mr. Tone Wen holds a Tennessee Cosmetology license number 143562, which was issued by the Board of Cosmetology, State of Tennessee, Department of Commerce and Insurance on November 8th, 2008. Mr. Wen holds a license to perform cosmetology services in this state. According to the Pleasant View Police Department incident report dated November 13th, 2013, Sergeant Wheeler received a call that an officer was requested by Ms. Shannon Himes, who had just left the T&T Nail Salon at 212 Renoir Center in Pleasant View, Tennessee, about a possible sexual battery. Sergeant Wheeler responded to this incident and took an incident report from Ms. Himes and a signed statement. Following this incident, Sergeant Wheeler obtained 2 additional signed statements from 2 women about unwanted sexual contact by Mr. Wen while they received cosmetology services from him at the T&T Nail Salon. On November 21st, 2013, the Pleasant View Police Department arrested Mr. Wen and charged him with sexual battery pursuant to Tennessee Code Annotated Section 39-13-505. In this case, the alleged sexual contact occurred while a licensee of the Board of Cosmetology provided cosmetology services. On November 22nd, 2013, the board was forwarded a complaint against Mr. Wen that was received from Carol Harrison, registered nurse in the Office of Investigations at the Department of Health. Ms. Harrison received information from the Pleasant View Police Department reporting that a cosmetology licensee, Mr. Wen, who worked at the T&T Salon in Pleasant View, Tennessee, had been arrested for sexual battery on November 21st, 2013. On December 2nd, 2013, at a regularly scheduled board meeting, the members of the board heard details of the complaint filed with the board concerning Mr. Wen. Specifically, his arrest for sexual battery by the Pleasant View Police Department, information about 2 additional female victims coming forward, and making allegations of inappropriate sexual contact. Based on those facts, the board voted to issue an order of summary suspension on December 2nd, 2013. In the summary suspension order, the board found that Mr. Wen was arrested and detained by the Pleasant View Police Department for sexual battery during the course of providing cosmetology services. The board received a complaint alleging sexual battery by a licensee while providing cosmetology services, and 2 additional female individuals have come forward and provided signed statements alleging Mr. Wen engaged in inappropriate sexual contact during the course of providing cosmetology services at the T&T Nail Spa in Pleasant View, Tennessee. Summary suspension, although rarely used, is an appropriate remedy when emergency action is necessary for the benefit of public health, safety, or welfare. In this matter, the board previously determined summary suspension was appropriate to protect the public safety and welfare of Tennessee citizens and allowed the board to take such action under the law. The board took immediate action and immediately summarily suspended the licensee. Tennessee law requires the board to allow the licensee to appear before it within 7 days of the summary suspension to present their version of the situation. If you refer to the statute, Tennessee Code annotated 4-5320D2, the Board of Cosmetology is given the authority to take summary suspension action and specifically states that the board is to provide an informal, reasonable opportunity for the licensee to address the board and present his version of the situation. This matter was scheduled to be heard last Wednesday, December 11th, 2013. However, it was continued until today at the request of the attorney for the licensee, Mr. Dan Alexander. Additionally, the statute specifically states this informal hearing shall not be required to be held under the contested case provisions of the Administrative Procedures Act. Today, the board will informally have the opportunity to hear from the licensee and/or his attorney to present his version of the situation concerning his arrest for sexual battery, the complaint filed against him, and the allegations of sexual battery against him that occurred while he provided cosmetology services. Please keep in mind, the licensee has been charged with sexual battery and is innocent until proven guilty in a criminal court. These are allegations of inappropriate sexual conduct. However, because of the seriousness of the allegations, and most importantly because the conduct in question occurred when the licensee provided cosmetology services, it was imperatively necessary for the board to summarily suspend Mr. Wen. The sole issue the board needs to determine today is whether the public health, safety, or welfare imperatively requires the board to continue the emergency suspension that it rendered on December 2nd, 2013. If you were to allow Mr. Wen to continue to hold a valid cosmetology license, it would constitute an immediate threat to public safety because there is a chance that these instances of unwanted sexual contact would occur again. When Mr. Wen rendered cosmetology services, there is a chance, if the allegations were proved to be true, more Tennessee residents could be harmed. If the board finds, after hearing all the information presented today, that Mr. Wen would pose a threat to public health, safety, or welfare by continuing to be a licensed cosmetologist, and the threat imperatively requires emergency action, the board should vote to uphold the summary suspension originally issued on December 2nd, 2013. And then Mr. Wen's license will continue to be suspended until a formal hearing is held under the Administrative Procedures Act. The citizens of Tennessee need to be protected and have their health, safety, and welfare protected by the very licensing agency that licenses those who could do harm to them. Therefore, I urge the board to uphold the summary suspension. It was the proper action the board took on December 2nd, 2013, and it is the proper action to take today to protect the citizens of the state of Tennessee, and it is imperatively necessary. Thank you, Madam Chair and board members. At this time, I will turn it back over to Madam Chair to hear from the licensee or his attorney. Please note that we have a Vietnamese translator here for Mr. Nguyen if he would like to directly address the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, could we please hear from the attorney, Dan Alexander?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. My name is Dan Alexander. I'm an attorney here in Nashville. I've been practicing 34 years. I have here with me Mr. Nguyen and an individual who was present at that establishment on that day. Now, the allegations of the order, first of all, the statute itself says that the individual, before there's a his or her license are summarily withdrawn or revoked or suspended, are to have notice of the facts and the conduct. Now, facts are specific allegations, and conduct would be too. The allegations are that he was arrested and detained by the Pleasant View Police Department, and that's certainly true. He has been charged with a crime. There's been no disposition on that. It's very early in the process. The board did receive a complaint from 3 individuals. I think we can clear some of this up. One of these individuals, according to who claims that this individual was also sexually harassed or assaulted, we can find no record at the establishment that that individual's ever been there, I think will be the testimony. The other one contains a number of falsehoods. Indeed, the initial, and we don't know what the relationship between these 3 individuals is, but we know that the initial confrontation, and if the board chooses to, Madam Chairman, and I'd like for you to, can hear from Mr. Nguyen and the other worker who was there that day working on the daughter. The initial complaint from Shannon Himes alleges that she was there at the establishment with her 10-year-old daughter, and in fact that was the case. We've established on very short notice that they were seated nearby. The other worker was working with the daughter. Miss Hines was bargaining and trying to decide what services she wanted with the other worker, and claiming she didn't have enough money for both of them, and eventually did order a very expensive process. She says that when she got up, she waited a minute to pay her bill at the counter, and we know that's not true because we've got a witness who was standing right there, young Mrs. Nguyen, no relationship, who I hope you will hear from here in a minute, and she says that she left $30 on the counter, and we know that's not true because we've got the lady here who would be there to take that money. She's claiming that it was an inappropriate touching by the hands. We've brought a picture of how he would be situated there by one of the other workers. He wasn't within arm's reach of her while she was having this procedure done on her feet. We know that the one lady, I believe I'll let you hear from this lady, who says she was there during September, wasn't there. So I would suggest to the board that what occurred here is that this lady ordered up a very expensive process for she and her daughter. She then intentionally did not want to pay for it, and she walked out of the establishment not paying for it. Mr. Nguyen probably would have been better off if he didn't go out and ask for the money, but he did. He went out and asked her for the money, and she says in her complaint, in the criminal complaint, and I have a copy of it here too, she said, you were paid in there, you got paid when you touched me, or something like that. Words to that effect. I have the warrant here. But we know that these affidavits apparently were not investigated before this order of summary suspension was issued, and I'd like for you to hear some of the facts, because this is based, I think I can convince you, on trying to get out of paying what was a substantial bill, and it didn't occur. And I was taught years ago that the old Latin phrase "falsus in uno, falsus in omnibus." If you'll lie about one part of it, you'll lie about the other part of it. Of course, Mr. Wynn will address the criminal charge, and we're underway. He's hired an attorney. He's a U.S. citizen, and I will just submit as a closing matter before I'd like for the board to hear from Mr. Wynn and the other worker that was there, that as a technical matter, I'm only bringing this up because I think it is correct under 4-5-320. He's entitled to have facts set forth that would support this. The facts in the order are that he was arrested. Well, that's something somebody else does to you, and people are arrested every day who are stellar citizens. Jesus was arrested. The other allegation is that the respondent engaged in sexual assault while providing cosmetology service. Well, that is a conclusion. That's not a stated fact. It doesn't say in the order, here's what we say you did. We say that you used your hand inappropriately to go beyond where you should have been in doing this treatment. That would be a fact. The other allegation is that upon further information, two additional individuals have provided signed statements alleging respondent engaged in inappropriate sexual contact while providing cosmetology services. I can establish for you that one of these individuals apparently, from what we can gather on a short investigation, never been in that establishment. The other individual wasn't there when she says she was there, and this has supposedly happened on November the 13th. All of a sudden, we have two individuals claiming back as far, I guess, as middle of September, and she wasn't there in the middle of September, that they had been touched too. But there's no indication that anywhere along the line until this Miss Hines walked out and didn't pay for a bill that these other two individuals ever made a complaint, a suggestion, or anything. This, quite frankly, to the members of the board, appears to us to be, on very short notice, a contrivance to avoid paying that cosmetology bill. But if you will indulge me, I'd like for you to hear next from Jenny Wynn, who was a worker there at that day. I have Miss Jenny Wynn. Oh, is she going to stand at the podium? Okay, Miss Wynn, what's the name of this establishment you worked at?
Oh, it's TNT Nail Spa. TNT Nail Spa.
And is that the same establishment where Mr. Wynn was working on November the 13th?
Yes.
Were you there that day?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you were there when the primary person making these allegations, this Shannon Himes, came in with her daughter, were you not? Were you there on November the 13th when this Miss Shannon Himes came into the establishment?
Yes.
Okay. Tell the board, if you would, what you observed in your conversation with her.
Okay, when she and her daughter walked into the door, I just asking them like, how can I help them? And she said she wanted to get like two pedicure for herself and her daughter. And then she asking me like, so she wanted to get a deluxe pedicure, which means a special pedicure in our salon, and it costs $40. And she wanted just a regular pedicure for her daughter, which means just $18 for it. And then when I took her to the pedicure chair, She finally changing her mind into like from the deluxe pedicure into the signature, which means like $33. It's cheaper than the deluxe pedicure. And then just like 3 minutes later, she changing her mind again into the deluxe one again. And then like finally she's changing her mind. She like, okay, I'm changing my mind. I get pink and white feeling. And just like later on, she's changing her mind again one more time. She like, I'm not gonna do a pink and white feeling. She's just doing a pink feel only. And then her final decision is like she want like no feeling at all. She just want to cut down. And her daughter just turned around and asking her like, why you changing your mind a lot? And she like, because I don't have that much money on mine right now. And I did offering her like, if you say you don't have enough money on your right now, then just do instead of getting a full pedicure for your daughter, just get a polishing instead because it's cheaper. And her daughter don't want it. And then she just turned around and tell me like, just give her daughter like a full pedicure. And she want a special pedicure, which means a deluxe pedicure for herself. And then we started working on it. And then as I didn't see anything like he touching her or anything, and she kept like really her face. She landed on the pedicure chair and really relaxing by that time. And she did turn around and asking her daughter like, everything okay? And her daughter said yes. And how about you? And she said, really, I really enjoy it. And nothing wrong with her, like he doing anything with her at all.
Was Mr. Wynn close by to you then?
Yes.
Okay. Did what would this procedure have cost her? The procedure that she ordered up, the deluxe.
I have no idea. She just said like because she working so hard, that's what she deserved.
I know, but how much would you have charged her had she paid?
$73 total for her and her daughter.
Okay. Now, you've shown me on the phone how Mr. Wynn was situated when he was working on her feet. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Was he within arm's reach, for example, of her private parts or her breast when
Nope.
he was doing this procedure?
Nope.
Okay. And you were how far away from him?
Excuse me?
How far were you away from him?
We really like close to each other.
How close?
Like next to each other.
2 foot, 3 foot?
Actually, it's like not. It's just about not that. It's not even a 1 foot yet.
The chairs that you were working in with the daughter and the chair that he was working in with Ms. Hines were next to each other. Is that correct?
Uh-huh.
Okay. So you could see everything that was going on and hear any complaints or observe any improper procedure.
Yes, sir.
Did you observe anything?
Nope.
Is that a no?
Yes.
Okay. I ask that you speak up because the communications is not what they maybe should be. Okay, now I ask you to check the store records of this Mary Scruggs. Did you find any record? She's one of the other witnesses that made a complaint. Did you find any record of her having been in that facility for treatment?
I did, but I didn't find any like information about her.
Okay. Now, I believe Miss Stotts says that she was in there in September in her statement. Does the records reflect that she was in there in September?
Nope.
Okay. And the work that she says she received, what kind of work does the record reflect that she received in her statements? Would you like to look at the statements so you can refresh your memory, the ones that the department has provided me with? Would that help? Madam Chairman, I'm handing her up the statement that was Ms. Brown was nice enough to send to me later after the order.
I mean, for this lady, she was right in here, like she's just complaining about the icing wax, but we not really found any information about her in the record.
No information that she had received any care there when she said she had?
Nope.
Okay. Now, there is allegation in these supporting affidavits that Mr. Wynn put towels on one of the individuals that was receiving, I'm going to use the word care or treatment for lack of, show you that I'm not very sophisticated in this field. You saw those allegations in both Ms. Scruggs and Ms. Stott's affidavit, I believe, that he was putting towels on their chest and running his hand near their breast or across their breast.
Nope.
No, the allegations are there that you read when I asked you to look at them. Is that true?
Nope.
No. I'm not asking you if it's true or not. I'm asking you if that's the allegation in the statement. That's what they say happened, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. Now, you work with Mr. Wynn, I assume, every time he's there, or most of the time he's there, or maybe a lot of the time he's there. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay. Is that consistent with the procedure that you do there, or that you allowed, or that you have observed Mr. Wynn do? There may be a language problem. Let me rephrase that. Is it true or not true that the procedure that's used there is that the towels are placed on the individual's shoulders, not on their chest?
The towel is on the shoulder. It's not on the dress.
Okay. So there wouldn't be a towel on this individual's chest above the breast such that he could do any inappropriate touching, would there?
Yes.
Yes, there would be, or
No.
there would not?
I mean, no. It's not going to be possible for him to put anything on the breast. It always is on the shoulder.
Now, how long have you worked with Mr. Wynn?
Seeing he started working in there, like over 2 years.
Years. Have you noticed any impropriety or improper conduct by Mr. Wynn during that period of time?
Nope.
Okay. Now, Ms. Hines, who initiated this, says in her affidavit, you've read it, haven't you? You've read her statement, Ms. Hines.
Yes.
She says in there that she stopped at the counter waiting for somebody to pay, and nobody came, and she left $30 on the counter and walked outside. Tell the board you were there what actually happened.
When she's telling that she paying $30 and she left the fund at the counter, it's not true because we don't see any money at all on the table.
Did she, when she got up, did she stop or did she walk directly out the door without paying?
Because I'm not really don't know because during that time I was just working on my client, and I just know it when she just walked out of the door. That's why when I get up and asking him do she paying it, and he say no.
You ask who did she pay?
Mr. Tuong Nguyen.
You asked Mr. Tuong Nguyen if she paid, and what did he say?
No.
And she had walked out the door owing $70. Is that
yes,
correct?
73.
Okay. What happened next?
And after that, I just asking him, why don't you just run after her and ask for paying it because maybe she forget.
Okay, so you're the one that suggested he go outside and follow her to see if he could get the payment.
Yes.
Okay. Did you go outside? Do you know what happened outside?
Nope.
Now, this officer that made the report to the board, the Pleasant View officer, was he there at the time?
Excuse me?
Was the officer there any of the time when this happened?
Nope.
Okay, so it was just you, Mr. Wynn, her, and her daughter. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, okay, I will tender Miss Wynn over as a witness to either the attorney for the department or the board for any questions. She's standing by the microphone.
This is Shalina Brown. I'd like to just remind the board that this is an informal hearing. We're not here to weigh the proof or hear from witnesses or cross-examine them. When we file formal charges against Mr. Nguyen, we will have the opportunity to call witnesses, cross-examine, and put on the necessary proof.
This is I would respond by saying this is ex parte action in a most serious area involving his livelihood, and one of the allegations, the factual allegations upon which this order of suspension was based, is this conduct that we received no information about until after the order was suspended, and of course Mr. Nguyen couldn't read it, so the validity of the allegations that got this unusual summary suspension, I submit, is very much what this hearing is about.
Mr. Alexander, let me interrupt for just a second. Board and Madam Chair, if I could interrupt you, this is Roxana. If you could make sure that each of you has your phones, if you're on a cell phone, on mute, and that there's no background noise. Thank you. Okay, that seems to have taken care of a good part of it. We will continue. Thank you, Mr. Alexander. I didn't want to cut you off. Shalene, it's all yours if you've got anything else to direct the board.
I don't have anything further. Mr. Alexander said that he would like to have Mr. Nguyen address the board.
I do. Mr. Nguyen, would you come up to the podium?
Mr. Alexander, we do have an interpreter here if you would like, if that would help you.
I think it would be helpful, and I'm asking the licensed certified interpreter to step up and identify herself.
Sean, I'm 1118, an interpreter for Avaza. Hello, my name is Sean, and I'm interpreter 1118 for Avaza.
I just want to ask a few questions, and I'm going to ask the interpreter if Mr. Nguyen needs any assistance to assist him, and then maybe we can get it done quickly. Would you ask Mr. Nguyen to identify himself, please?
My name is Tuan Nguyen.
And Mr. Nguyen, other than in your past a DUI, do you have any sort of criminal record at all? Speak up, please.
No.
Okay. Now, when you received this order of summary suspension, were you able to read this? It's in English. I'm talking about initially when you first received it before you came to see me.
No.
Did it have with it any of the supporting factual allegations that we now have received? Thank you to Ms. Brown. Did it have any of the supporting statements or anything such that you could address it?
I'm sorry, so distracted.
Excuse me, board members, if you could please mute your phones. We're getting a lot of feedback and background noise here. If you can make sure all your phones are muted.
When you received this order of summary suspension, did it have any of the supporting factual allegations in it attached to it, the statements and so forth?
No.
Your answer is no.
No.
Did you understand, even from this order, before we received the supporting documents, what facts and allegations the board was alleging to support this order of summary suspension. We're having some trouble with the translation. Miss Brown, would you stipulate that you were provided me with that information after I had requested it and you had verified that I was his attorney?
Yes.
Okay, we can get past that translation problem. Okay, now, Mr. Wynn, have you, prior to this, have you had any customer allegations of any sort of misconduct against you since you've been practicing in 2008?
No. No.
Can you assure this board that if they will allow you to investigate this and gather in the information and face whatever administrative hearing and criminal charges you need to face, that you will conduct yourself in accordance with the state law and the guidelines and not do any of these things that are suggested or any inappropriate conduct?
Yes.
Okay. How old are you, sir?
42.
And is that your wife seated here behind you?
Yes.
How long y'all been married?
25 years.
How long?
25.
25 years. You,
Oh. 22 years.
22 years. Is there any reason why you would even think of inappropriately touching a customer in your business, other than to perform the necessary procedure? Hey, Mr. Wynn, I'm going to ask you point blank. You're facing one criminal charge, which I believe, board members don't hold me to this, but I believe it's a Class E felony, the inappropriate touching. Did you do any of these things that has been alleged that you did?
No.
The answer is no. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. I think that's all the questions I have, and I tender Mr. Wynn here and present as a witness to either Ms. Brown or to the board members. Oh, let me ask one more just quickly. Did this Mrs. Hines ever come back and pay for the services she received?
No, sir.
That's my last question. Thank you.
board members, this is Shalina Brown. I'd just like to remind you that the purpose of this informal hearing is not to weigh the proof or to hear testimony from witnesses or cross-examine witnesses. However, if the board does have questions for Mr. Nguyen, they should feel free to ask. Are there any questions?
This is Linda Colley. I would like to ask Mr. Wynn. I couldn't understand the answer, how long he had worked at this particular establishment.
Did you hear that, Madam Chairman?
2 years, ma'am.
I did not hear an answer.
2 years.
Is that 2 years?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. One other question. This is my last question for today. Were there any other people or any other staff in the establishment when this accusation came about?
Four people.
What was the answer? I could not hear.
Madam Chairman, he said 4 people, and I was going to ask him, we know that there were 4 people there, and I want to know if that 4 includes the 4 that were there. I assume that's what you're asking, or 4 other people.
I would just like to know how many people were in the establishment when this particular situation was said that it was happening. And that's my only question. That's my last question.
Là 4 người làm phải không? 3 người làm. Rồi 2 người cắt. Với 1 người six people. Yeah, 6 people, ma'am.
Did he say 6 people?
Yes, ma'am. He said there were six people there.
Okay. Thank you. That's the only questions I have.
Are there any other questions from the board members?
Madam Chairman, Rufus Hereford, I'd like to ask one question, please. May I go ahead?
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Yes.
Okay. I want to know what investigation or evidence did the police have at the time of his arrest?
Khi mà
Excuse me, sir?
Yes.
We do have the Pleasant View sergeant that made the arrest here. If you would like to ask him the question.
I'd like the answer to that question, please.
This is Sergeant Tad Wheeler.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Yes.
Please repeat the question, sir.
I want to know what investigation or evidence did you or the police have at the time of Mr. Nguyen's arrest?
Based on my follow-up investigation that night and Ms. Himes' statement and her daughter's statement, I spoke with the DA and we charged Mr. Nguyen.
That's all I have.
Are there any further questions?
This is Judy McAllister. What age is Mr. Nguyen?
42, ma'am.
42?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Pearl Ali, Memphis.
No, ma'am.
Go ahead, Pearl.
Okay, my question is, has this establishment ever had a previous experience of a customer or customers refusing to pay for services?
trong cái quán này đó, từ xưa tới nay có bao giờ một
Last year, ma'am. One person.
There was one person last year.
And what were the circumstances under which that customer refused to pay for services?
Và cái tình trạng lúc đó đó, tại sao người ta không có chịu trả? You were blaming on the fact that the ingrown toenails was removed and was bled a little bit, and that's why they refused to pay.
Could you repeat that, please?
She was having a pedicure done. Ingrown toenails was removed, cut just a little bit, and it was bled, and she refused to pay it.
Because the customer bled, they refused to pay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, then. Thank you.
Are there any more questions from the board members? Mr. Alexander, do you have anything further?
No, but the last question, I think I asked that it be clarified if this was this worker or another worker. The question was the establishment. I don't know if it involved Mr. Wynn or not. It was unclear, so that would be my only thing.
Yes, it was Mr. Wynn.
Ms. Brown, is there any more discussion?
I have one more question. Mr. Wen, have you worked anywhere else?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Could you please tell us where?
VIP now, Dixon, Tennessee, ma'am.
He was working for VIP Nail in Dixon, Tennessee.
What was the period that he was working there?
About 1 month.
For 1 month.
When?
And
Don't remember what month, but it's around 2010.
The beginning part or the end part of the year?
Around the summertime, ma'am.
Are there any other places that you've worked?
Skyline Nail in Dixon Road, Nashville, Tennessee.
Is that Nashville?
Yes.
Are there any other places that you've worked?
No more, ma'am.
Have you ever worked in Clarksville, Tennessee?
No.
Have you ever worked in Murfreesboro, Tennessee?
No, ma'am.
Thank you, that's all. Madam Chair?
Yes.
I'll turn it back over to you. You can proceed.
Thank you very much. Okay, at this time, we have to have a motion to either uphold the summary suspension until a formal hearing or decline to uphold and discontinue the summary suspension. And at this time, it's open for discussion. To the board members.
Madam Chair, this is Roxana. I will go through the roll if you'll bear with me. A yes vote would be, I need a motion, first of all, or we need a motion to either uphold or deny, and then a second, and then I will do the roll call with the votes.
Okay, Nina Coppinger, I was waiting to see if there was any discussion. I would like to make a motion to uphold the summary suspension that the board took on December 2nd, 2013.
Merle Smith, I second that motion, please.
Motion's been made by Ms. Coppinger that we uphold the summary suspension and seconded by Merrill Smith. I'll turn this back over to Roxana.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, a yes vote is to uphold. If you do not agree with the motion and the second, you would vote no. I will start with Madam Chair, Linda Colley.
Yes.
Vice Chair, Nina Coppinger.
Yes.
June Huckabee.
Yes.
Muriel Smith.
Yes.
Rufus Herford.
Yes.
Pearl Walker Ali. Ms. Pearl Walker Ali. Ms. Pearl Walker Ali, are you with us?
I'm sorry, I was on mute. I'm sorry.
That's
Yes.
okay. That's a yes vote, correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay. Ms. Judy McAllister
Yes.
and Ms. Courtney Williams.
Yes.
Thank you. I have all yes votes.
We have 8 yes votes. Okay, at this time, we need the motion to determine would we like to have this matter heard in a formal hearing by the administrative law judge or administrative law judge hear the matter alone without us. In other words, do you want to turn this over to a administrative law judge for the formal hearing, or did you want the board members to be present also?
Madam Chair, Nina Coppinger, I would like to make a motion that we turn this over to an administrative law judge to hear the matter alone.
Okay. Motion's been made by Ms. Coppinger that we turn this over to administrative law judge. Do I hear a second?
This is Judy McAllister, and I second that.
Okay, motion made by Ms. Coppinger and seconded by Ms. Judy McAllister. I'll turn this back over to Ms. Roxana.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will again do the roll call, and a yes vote would be that you agree with the motion on the table, which is to have an ALJ hear the formal hearing. We'll start with Madam Chair, Linda Colley. How do you vote?
Yes.
Vice Chair, Nina Coppinger.
Yes.
June Huckabee.
Yes.
Muriel Smith.
Yes.
Rufus Herford.
Yes.
Pearl Walker Ali.
Yes.
Judy McAllister.
Yes.
And Courtney Williams.
Yes.
Thank you.
We had an enormous vote on that as yes. Is there any more discussion? If not, it's time for adjournment. Do I hear a motion we adjourn?
I so move. June Huckabee.
Motion made by Ms. Huckabee,
Merle Smith, second.
seconded by Merrill Smith that we adjourn this special meeting. All in favor? Whoops, I can't all in favor. Sorry. Used to doing that. Ms. Roxanne, I'll turn that over to you.
Thank you very much. Madam Chair, is there anything else that we need? No? Okay, at this moment, we will let you all conclude the meeting. Thank you very much for your presence on the phone, and we're adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.